What's good, everybody? It's the Chosen One here with Bro Sanchez, and today we're getting ready to go over the situation with John F. Kennedy and the things that led to his assassination. One thing that I would like to tell everybody is that all 44 presidents that ever existed are all part of something called a Bohemian bloodline. They're actually all related. They're either third to sixth cousins, every single one of them. And if you're not part of that bloodline, you simply don't get in. It's really that simple. This bloodline has been in power for about 2,000 to 3,000 years, okay? They're the ones who took over Kemet and put up the face of Serapis. This is that same bloodline in power today. And to be honest, there's only been one quote-unquote real president of America, okay? And that was John F. Kennedy. Now, why would I say that? There was plenty of instances where this man just completely turned around the plan of the global elites. John F. Kennedy's family is actually part of the 13 royal bloodlines that are part of what we would like to call the Illuminati, okay? His last name, Kennedy, goes back a very, very long time. The Kennedys are a very powerful family that have ties to the Vatican and the British monarchy, and this is what surprised the elites was he was actually part of their bloodline, but he went against his DNA, he went against his blood, and chose a path of righteousness, okay? So when you really look into what went down with the things leading to his assassination, one of the major things that caused him to be assassinated was him opposing the war in Vietnam, which was all about controlling poppy fields and invading Cuba. He denied the U.S. government, okay, when they wanted to invade Cuba.
Another reason why JFK was assassinated was the fact that John F. Kennedy signed Executive Order number 11110, which authorized the U.S. Treasury to issue its own money, certificates backed by silver, as an alternative form of money to Federal Reserve notes. So this meant that for every ounce of silver in the U.S. Treasury's vault, the government could introduce new money into circulation based on the silver bullion physically held there. In other words, he was creating interest-free government money backed up by the silver reserve. Today, we know the money is not backed up by anything and that the ruling elite capitalized off of the debt of the people. So if Kennedy had not been assassinated, this change could have prevented the national debt from reaching its current level, because it would have given the government the ability to repay its debt without going to the Federal Reserve and being charged interest in order to create the new money. So we got to understand what Kennedy was trying to do. And there's so many reasons why he was assassinated. One thing we can say, it definitely was the ruling elite and major bankers had a lot to do with it. Like my brother said, he was a righteous president. After everything I just said, it's clear to see that he was a huge target. I'm gonna pass it back over to RFG.
When you look at it, after what Bro Sanchez just said, John F. Kennedy would just be considered another Gaddafi, another Muammar Gaddafi in a way. Gaddafi tried to make one dominant African currency that would have basically crippled the Federal Reserve, okay? And Kennedy basically did the same thing. And after Kennedy's assassination, I'm under the good belief of that's when the global elite started chipping presidents and started having them under MK Ultra mind control, because Kennedy showed the global elite that the human factor can kick in no matter what kind of DNA you have, okay? We all have a choice in this. No matter what color we are, we can choose bad or we can choose good, okay? John F. Kennedy shocked them and went against their established order, went against their plans, and they never wanted to take any risk whatsoever of that happening again. So this is why all of our presidents after John F. Kennedy have been under MK Ultra mind control. John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert F. Kennedy attacked organized crime in an effort to expose the mafia to the public and curtail its power. John F. Kennedy and the Chicago mob boss Sam Giansana shared the same mistress, Judith Campbell Exner. Giansana helped JFK win the election in Illinois and on the East Coast as well.
So JFK and his brother was exposing the mafia, and we know the mafia is the ones controlling a lot of what's going on in the country today. So that was one reason reason right there. You know, he was exposing the mafia.
Another thing that's interesting is JFK refused to allow the CIA and American troops to attack Cuba, thereby creating the infamous Bay of Pigs fiasco in 1961. Following that incident, General Charles P. Cabell, deputy director of the CIA, went around Washington calling President Kennedy a traitor. The CIA solicited the services of the mafia to kill Fidel Castro. One theory on JFK's assassination is that the public execution of John F. Kennedy was accomplished by a three-man mafia CIA firing squad in association with a patsy Lee Harvey Oswald. The CIA was aware of the attempt on JFK's life prior to November 22nd, 1963, and flew in an abort team to Dallas on the morning of the hit. In 1963, John F. Kennedy was preparing to amend the National Labor Relations Board's statutes and various Internal Revenue Service statutes that would prevent foreign flag shipping from being exempt from American income taxes. These amendments would have seriously affected Liberian shipping magnates and the assets of men such as Aristotle Onassis. Billions of dollars were at stake. President Kennedy was killed 3 days before he was to make these amendments public. So yeah, that is very interesting. This man was getting ready to go against the established order, plain and simple. He was restructuring the CIA so it could no longer be used by the ruling powers, the capitalist cabal, to carry out foreign and domestic terrorism.
And another reason too he was assassinated is because he was going to restructure the Federal Reserve System so it can no longer be used by the ruling powers to manipulate the economy. Another reason, because he was going to shut down the war in Vietnam, as my brother stated, and that was a war that brought the ruling powers $500 billion in armament sales. People, come on now. I'm going to give you another reason, because the international capitalist cabal, which has ruled the U.S. since at least 1913, wanted to regain its total stranglehold on the country, which it has today, as we can see.
Another thing I want to touch on is, people have to understand that war is nothing but big business, okay? Any way you look at it, war makes multi-billions, even trillions of dollars for certain infrastructures in certain countries, okay? And anybody who can't realize that by us being able to spend billions on war, but not being able to take care of the poverty problem, around the world and even in the United States, that has to raise question marks in your head if you have any form of common sense whatsoever, okay? This country has enough money to actually stop poverty in this country and in Mexico, all combined, okay?
And that's one of the things that John F. Kennedy was planning on doing. There's a lot of speeches that he was swearing to change the situation with the injustices concerning African American people in this country too. So he was standing up for all the injustices that was happening on his land for years, and he was going against the ruling elite, and he was a great humanitarian.
Absolutely. Like I said, he was really technically the only real president who went against the established order, and it was destiny for him to do that because he actually laid a foundation for quote-unquote conspiracy theorists to find out that there's actually no such thing as a conspiracy, and the conspiracy is actually reality, okay? So yeah, me in particular, going into my belief, I believe that what happened with John F. Kennedy was definitely destiny, and it basically shows that, no matter what color somebody is, we all have the choice and the God-given decision to choose right from wrong. This is actually shocking in a way because, to be honest, this is my first time actually looking at John F. Kennedy's natal chart, and I'm an expert at this, so I can actually go off the top. And one of the things that struck my interest was looking at the moon crescent symbol in the 11th box, which is, known as the 11th house. The 11th house is humanitarianism, compassion for humanity, rebelliousness, okay, and friend and social networks. And John F. Kennedy has moon in his 11th house, which gives him a natural caring emotion for humanity and for his friend circle. This is really deep because his natal chart, ladies and gentlemen, basically shows that he was destined to do what he did. His ascendant, which means the star constellation rising on the eastern horizon at the moment of his birth, his ascendant is in Libra, just like mine, which means that when John F. Kennedy takes in information, he's not biased with it. He weighs it on the scale because Libra is the scale. He takes the information in, weighed it on a scale, and just basically weighed out what made more sense, okay? Regardless of any bias, bigotry, okay, or any animosity, he was actually a fair-minded individual. That's what being a Libra ascendant is all about. Another thing that draws my interest big time is another Another placement that he has, the same as mine, is Uranus in the 4th house. Now, the 4th house in astrology and natal charts represents the relationship with your mother, how your life was like from the ages of, I want to say 4 to 10, okay? And the relationship with your home country and, you know, just your early stages of life and how your mother nurtured you, your relationship with your home country. This is what the 4th house represents. Now, John F. Kennedy has Uranus in his 4th house. Uranus is the planet of unexpected disruptions, rebelliousness, okay? Care for humanity, because just like the 11th house, it's ruled by the planet Uranus. So his 11th house was brought to his 4th house. Uranus is all about going against the established order and rebelliousness. So that planet of rebelliousness and going against the order is in his 4th house of his home country relations. It's right here, people, you know, and it's really, really deep. This stuff is really deep. This just proves that he was destined to do what he did. Looking at his 8th house, this is really shocking because the 8th house is the house of death, sex, and how we view like spiritual knowledge and hidden occult wisdom. Okay, he has Venus, Sun, Mars, and Jupiter and Mercury in his 8th house, which means that for him to want to go against the established order, he had to have found out some secrets that this government was keeping from humanity, and he thought it was completely unfair for them to be doing this because the 8th house, just like the 12th house, rules hidden knowledge. So by all these planets being in John F. Kennedy's 8th house basically shows that he stumbled upon hidden knowledge. Tupac also had Jupiter in the 8th house, okay? This is really deep. And even things pertaining to his death, okay, we can actually see in the 8th house and in his 9th house, because planet Pluto is in his 9th house of travel, religion, spiritual philosophy, foreign relations with other cultures, and just your view on spiritual knowledge. The 8th and the 9th house are somewhat kind of similar, okay? And a lot of spiritual gurus, a lot of enlightened individuals have planets in the 9th, 8th, and 12th houses, okay? That's what you look for when you look for spiritual gurus. So looking at this chart is very, very shocking to say the least. When you look at his 10th house, he has Saturn and Neptune in his 10th house, which means that his career was already established before he was even born. He was born into a rich family. Saturn rules this house right here of Capricorn, okay? So that means that's a perfect placement for Saturn. So that means his career is gonna go how any career should go. He was destined to be in a position for politics, basically, because Saturn is ruled by the 10th house that you see right there, okay? And Saturn also rules father figures. So he had a very strong connection with his father, and his father set a foundation for him before he was even born. Those are some very interesting, intriguing facts about John F. Kennedy's natal chart. And if you start to study this, it'll blow you guys away, man, because this just proves that our destiny has been mapped out for us. That's about it for today, man. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. It's The Chosen One, man. I'm out.